Support for the Bulletproof for BJJ YouTube channel is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their exclusive offer for you. Get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code GRIZZLY at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls.
That's a lot of balls.
Now, talk to me about your experience with Manscaped.
I used this yesterday and I just did my arm in like barely any minutes. And it's so quick. It was actually very impressive. And so we have a comparison. Note this arm looking quite smooth and lean.
Vascular.
And then look at this arm. Hairy bear.
Grizzly.
Grizzly ass.
Neanderthal-esque. Here's my story with Manscaped. My partner bought me an older model a couple of years ago, and I've been using it ever since. I think I've charged it once in that time because the battery just doesn't die.
Oh, wow.
And it's very similar to this, though. This is obviously like upgraded.
This is the 4.0.
The 4th generation of trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, all right? Thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. You thought that was good, but you want to take a grooming game even further to the next level. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer.
The thing that I also am impressed with this pack is the care range. Like,
Right.
we've got the ball toner,
We've got the ball deodorant,
the crop reviver.
crop preserver.
Mate, it actually smells amazing. I don't mess with colognes, but like,
Smells fresh.
so man, I'm just putting this on.
JT's face is going to smell like Joey's balls.
Well, the roles are reversed because usually that's how it goes in jiu-jitsu.
Hey, I fight well from north-south. Fam, get 20% off and free shipping when you use the code GRIZZLY, which you can see here on the screen, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code GRIZZLY, unlock your confidence, and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. Hi guys, I'm JT.
Hey guys, I'm Joey.
Today we're discussing imposter syndrome. I don't deserve my belt.
Ha!
This is a bit of a thing. I didn't actually fully appreciate it until it was brought to my attention.
This came through on the Instagram.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Someone being like, someone who we know recently got graded and was like, hey, tell me about that.
Yeah, I don't feel like it wasn't right for me. I don't feel like I'm good at this level. And this is difficult. And a lot of people experience this in other realms of life, whether it's their job or in other spheres where maybe they are getting promoted and they feel like it doesn't necessarily serve them or is not a true reflection of where they're at. And because there's a lot of expectation around belts, isn't there? Like, oh, when that person's a blue belt, they should X.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's not really a purple belt. Look, he can't even Y.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah, and people will put their sort of views on it, and you'll be like, oh, fuck, well, that doesn't align with what I thought or where I think I'm at, and like, that can fuck you up.
Yeah, psychologically. And the thing that I've observed over time has been like, I guess I've always graded under people who made you stay on your belt for ages. So I didn't really have that problem. I never really had the expectation like, grade me now, but I spent reasonable time at each belt.
Yeah.
So, and worked hard there. But then for some other people who may not be necessarily as confident, they're worried about their rank because I guess that the feeling is you get graded and you're like, oh no, now everyone under me is, and we talked about this before, Joe, you get a belt and now everyone who's lower ranked than you is trying to smoke you.
Yeah.
Right? That's real.
Of course, yeah.
Even though the 2 weeks before you were all the same belt and
yeah, they didn't give a fuck about you. They're looking, yeah.
But now
you've gone onto the other side of the fence.
I'm coming for you.
You're probably going to be number one.
There's a target on you.
Yeah.
And the scrutiny. There is a degree of scrutiny.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting. I obviously having got my black belt just in November, which, whatever, that was like 5 months ago.
Way too soon.
I was like, fuck, should keep
5
me
years.
brown for another few years. Get comfortable here. But, there's a case, right? There's a case for the journey I'd been on, right? Let's look at this objectively. The journey I'd been on at brown belt, I would argue, when I got my black belt, it wasn't my peak of brown belt. I wasn't at my best of jiu-jitsu. And many things contributed to that. COVID was one of them, but also like my knee injury.
Sure.
Right? And so the knee injury was like, I don't know, a year and a half prior to that. And so you know, if you're looking at it like like if you were looking at it on a spreadsheet, you'd be like, no, that guy's not ready because you're doing better here and now we need to get back up to that peak or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So for me, when I got that belt, I definitely felt some of this imposter syndrome piece.
Right.
And I think it's natural just to feel that anyway. But one of the things for me was my expectation of what I thought a black belt, of what I thought I would feel like when I got a black belt.
Right.
And so what I mean by that is, for my whole jiu-jitsu career, I've looked at black belts and thought, wow, you are like an expert of this art.
The gods.
And you must just feel so confident in your ability and every part of your game is perfect, as perfect as it can be.
Sure.
Right? And then you get to fucking black belt and you're like, man, I got so many holes in my game.
Yeah.
Fuck, that blue belt passed my guard. Oh man. And you realize like, man, there's so much shit that I'm doing wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to get analytical about that. And then, you know, and it's very easy to then jump to, well, how am I a black belt? Like, surely I'm not representative of this yet.
Yeah.
And, you know, on pondering that more, you realize, wow, how fascinating it is that now that I'm here, the feeling is very different to what I thought it would be.
Yeah, you thought it would be like a confidence instiller or consolidator, but now it's actually opened up questions and doubts and fears.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would think that, like, say, coming from this fella who asked the question on Instagram, I would think it'd be exactly the same thing. I remember going to comps at white belt and I look at the blue belts and you're like, oh man, they look like savages.
So good.
Look at that guy warming. Fuck, he looks so mean.
He looks professional.
Yeah. And then you get a blue belt and then you're looking at the purple belts. You're like, man, that purple belt looks scary. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just always looking at the next thing.
Yeah.
When you're a white belt, you don't even look at the brown belts. It's so out of your scope.
Yeah.
But so you have these expectations of how you think you're going to be when you get there.
Yeah.
And it's almost, I think I said this before, I don't think that it doesn't play into the belts prior to black belt as much.
Sure.
Because black belt's the one where it's like, I should be an expert now.
Sure.
All the other ones are like stepping points to that.
True.
In a sense.
But I would counter that slightly because I believe our good friend was actually talking from the perspective of being like a blue belt and maybe somebody giving you a blue when you're like, oh, I'm not there yet. That is partly trusting your coach. That's partly your coach understanding you and the journey you're on, because not everybody is a competitor. Not everybody is, going to worlds, going to Pan Americans, trying to be the best X, like blue belt, purple belt in the world to then get their grade. So sometimes it will partly be a personal development thing because that's part of it. Someone comes to the gym, they're a complete jerk, and then over time they become nicer, they roll with better control. So yeah, they're learning techniques like everyone else, but there is a degree of personal development depending on the coach.
Yeah.
Like the coach may care or may not. Some gyms, they're kind of pushing people through on grades because maybe it's a little bit McDojo. We did talk about that previously.
Oh, we spoke about that.
Oh, did we? And then, but that said, I think this is where we're coming back to sometimes you're not the best judge. Like we have too much emotion and too much subjectivity. Like we load so much of our self-perception and all this negative self-talk and self-criticism, a whole lot of nonsense, when really you've just got to look for evidence. So I recently was reading listening to an audiobook, and it's all about how you can cultivate confidence. And it's written by the head trainer at West Point Military College. And forgive me, I've forgotten his name, but he was saying that in military conflict, it's not about being arrogant. It's not about like, I'm really good or I've won this before. You've got to look at the situation and go, are we improving? How can we measure that? Look for evidence to support, we can advance or we can't advance and this is why, and be objective about it. Sometimes that can't be you. So you almost can't trust yourself in that situation. You actually either need to talk to your coach or talk to your training partner or talk to somebody who knows you within jiu-jitsu, and you can be like, man, maybe I shouldn't be here. And I did feel that way a little bit at purple belt. And I had someone say to me, man, look how much you've improved. Like, where were you this time last year? He's like, you're way better this time. I just lost a championship. I lost in the final. I was pretty gutted.
I don't deserve.
Nah, I'm not good enough to be here. It's like, bro, you're second. You beat all these other guys. Like, and I was like, yeah, but I just don't feel like this is. He's like, yeah, but think about where you were. Let's look at where you were a year ago as a blue belt, doing whatever at blue belt. Now you're a purple belt. It's a different jump. So you got to acknowledge, yeah, there's a new level, and maybe whatever your self-expectation is very high, but the evidence is you are better. You're doing better jiu-jitsu. Maybe you're trying a guard like spider guard, or you're trying something which is trickier to do, so maybe you're being less successful now. But in the context of the whole journey, the evidence is you're moving forward, and the belt you've been given is an acknowledgement from your coach. It doesn't really matter how you feel about it. I mean, it matters insofar that it's great if you feel good about it, but you shouldn't feel bad about it.
No, that's exactly right. I think that, like what you said, it's extremely hard for us to pull ourselves out of the trench that we're in and be able to look at the whole landscape from a bird's eye perspective and go, okay, like, I was here and then I got to here and then kind of now I'm here, and understanding that along that journey, your perspectives change and there's emotional inputs and influences that will shape your thinking. Like that classic thing of you get to black belt and you realize, or you get to brown belt or you get to purple belt, but you realize how much you don't know. We've spoken about this before. I think for me, I know blue belt was my peak of jiu-jitsu arrogance. I knew everything and I smashed everyone.
Yeah, you were the best.
Yeah, I didn't smash everyone. It's just that I put it on absolutely every person with sheer athleticism and youth.
Yeah.
And the people that smashed me, I just forgot about those roles.
Just blocked it out.
Yeah, like some black belt kicked my ass. I'm like,
Delete.
Whatever, didn't happen.
He got lucky.
Yeah, but you know what I like. So and you're so oblivious to the whole game. You've developed, like you've got the beginnings of your game. You've developed it, and it's quite savage at that point. So you kind of hit this sort of golden period. So it's just interesting what happens to your perspective as you travel along the line. And to your point, it takes somebody outside of you to go, hey man, I think this is where you're at.
Correct.
And you have to be able to trust that, hopefully.
Yes.
Unless you're at a McDojo.
Yeah. And then maybe when you hit that point, if you're not, say you don't have that relationship with your coach, or you have a new coach, your coach left, whatever, and you don't have that relationship there, maybe it is time to change gyms, because maybe that person isn't interested in your development or anything like that. And that's pretty important. You do need to trust that advice. But also maybe if you're at a huge gym and you don't get much time with the instructor, which is fine, like that's what it's like if you train at a very popular gym, you do need to look to form a relationship with a higher belt, someone who, they're not your mentor, but they care enough that they'll give you 2 cents. So when you say, hey, is this technique okay, or am I doing this wrong, or whatever, that they actually give you feedback and say, hey man, I saw you rolling, you did really well there. Because the classic thing, and this is what we all do as humans, it's very easy for us to remember our negative experiences. It is the Kanye Wests of our world who can only remember their successes. They don't remember any tragic failures. They don't remember that they tried to start a KFC chain that completely failed.
Kanye tried to start a KFC chain?
Yeah. He's tried to start a women's fashion chain. This is all before his other deals, but he's never going to talk about that because he's now the $10 billion man.
Yeah, right.
And he'll tell you that. And so that's fine. Like I think that for the best part, most of us need to be a bit more confident and have a bit more self-belief. But for the best part, jiu-jitsu does way more to undermine your confidence than build it. And I've actually said this to a few people. People are like, I don't want to go to the gym. Oh, do I toss up? Do I go to the gym or do I go to jiu-jitsu? I always feel better after jiu-jitsu. I'm like, no, it's not true. You haven't trained enough. If you go to the gym, it's under your control. If you go and lift weights, it's under your control. If you're tired, you might not lift as much. Or if you feel good, you might lift a bit more. But obviously some people out there may have injured themselves at the gym, but I have never really had that experience. Lifting weights, I haven't injured myself. Only at jiu-jitsu really have I kind of been seriously injured. So then I look at that and I go, some nights at jiu-jitsu will make you want to quit. Like nothing works. You get swept by someone like lower ranked than you, someone who you always kick their ass, they triangle you, you bloody, nothing's working. And then, your coach might actually look at you struggling and laugh and you're like, oh, they hate me. No, my world's falling down. You walk out of the gym, I don't want to go back. We all have had moments where we're like, fuck this. I want Like, I just want to quit. It's too hard.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I don't need this shit.
I don't need this in my life. This negativity. But that said, we keep showing up. We keep finding a way. That said, when someone actually does acknowledge you and says, hey, I think you've done something good here, even if you don't believe it in yourself, you've got to have a look at where you started to where you are now. And then, and look at that more broadly. Like, don't get too caught up in yourself. Look at the people around you. Like, look around and see that there is so much variation at each belt. And that's okay. That doesn't mean, oh, they're a terrible purple belt or they're a really good black belt, or like, there is so many different levels within each level that is just reflective of diversity in human experience. So if you're feeling you're at the bottom of the food chain, maybe you are. That's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the adversity. I recently interviewed Thomas Lisboa, good friend of mine, black belt, who runs Alliance Vancouver. And he's a lightweight guy. He's a light feather. So he fights 55 kilos or lighter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Rooster, I think, is sub 50.
Yeah.
And he was the littlest guy, other than Bruno Malfacini at his gym in Sao Paulo. He was the smallest guy. And I saw him go to war with big guys, and they brutalized him. And I'm like, dude, you got smashed. I witnessed you get smashed, but you still showed heart. Like, you didn't back down. You took the smashing and you just sat back up like, let's go, every time. You just had this intense will, not in an aggressive way, just like an unyielding will. And I said, man, like, how can you deal with that? Because he had knee surgery when I trained with him. And I was like, how do you do it? He's like, the hardness and the adversity is what's good about jiu-jitsu. It's good for us. It's good for us to struggle. And it's like, not many people say that. It's not often you talk to someone and go, yeah, I suffered. That was good for me.
Yeah.
That was just kind of his take on it. And he's like, that's the beauty in the journey. And that's why jiu-jitsu is great, because it's hard. And there's not many things that we can pursue in life that are so hard, especially if you're a light featherweight in a gym full of heavyweights getting beat down every day. Yeah,
it's a great call. I think that it's viewed the physical difficulty of jiu-jitsu is often spoken about. Like, you know, you're getting squashed and you're in bad positions and there's always a way out and all that sort of thing. That's often held up, but perhaps the more emotional side of it, which is you leave training and feel like you're shit.
Yep.
You want to quit, or you get a belt, you feel like I'm not worthy of this. Those things are also hard. There's that whole emotional side to it, which is also the beauty, isn't it? That's also what you need more of.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say like this imposter syndrome thing, it is an extremely powerful motivator for you to go and fix up flaws in your game.
Definitely.
Isn't it? Like, I know for the first time, I think I've said it on the show before, I never watch instructionals. Like, right. I just don't have time for them.
That's cool.
But once I got my black belt, all of a sudden I started to watch a couple of instructionals.
Oh, look out.
Yeah, I know.
Conversion.
I was like, you know what? I do need a solution for that thing. Let's see what YouTube's got to say.
Yeah.
Started to take some notes on things.
And speak to this, Joseph.
What? Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just like, man, I got to be proactive. If I believe that a black belt, or, you know, and I guess I say this for someone listening, like to speak in their words, it's like, if I believe that whatever colored belt should have these qualities, well, then they're the qualities that I need to go and master. Like, they're the qualities I need.
What kind of person are you?
Yeah.
Are you the kind of person who does the extra work?
Yeah.
And you are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I was like, okay, I got to fix this shit up. All right, cool. Let's look for a solution for that. Oh, that fucking thing happened in training. Why is that thing still happening? I need a solution for that. Sometimes it's, you know, ask Adam, ask you, or it's like jump on YouTube, whatever, but you proactively go and get the solution.
Definitely.
And that's a real shift in energy.
Yes.
You know, and I think then you start to have success with that thing, and then you're like, okay, oh wow, my perspective has shifted now.
Yeah.
So, you know, for a period there, actually Ollie from Purple Belt from Alliance, he said to me, I think it was the first week when I came in after getting my black belt, he said, how's it feeling, man? He said, have you got the imposter syndrome yet? And I was like, dude, I totally do. He's like, yeah, of course. Like, everyone's gonna, you know? Yeah. It was really funny. Now I think about it, I'm like, no, I don't have it.
Right.
You know, now and that's just interesting that there is a period of time where I think it's almost, maybe it's not essential, but it's kind of somewhat necessary, depending on you and your journey. It doesn't last forever.
Yeah. And I think you can beat imposter syndrome. Like, I think this is a thing that so much of what is around us in the day-to-day society is, and this is not, I'm not trying to say anything too super deep here about the media or get too meta.
Oh no, go there.
Well, the mainstream media is designed to control your mind. Let's get Alex Jones in this piece. Literally, so much of what is pushed out in the world is to create fear and doubt, because it is so much easier to sell things to people who are feeling a bit indecisive and insecure. If you're really secure, if you're really level, if you're really mindful, calm, not materialistic, healthy, you don't need anything. You don't go to the doctor. You don't binge buy anything. You're not watching Netflix. You don't have subscriptions. You bloody meditate. I read a book. Like, it doesn't make money, right? And I'm being 100% honest here. If we were all super healthy, super fit, even if we all, did our mobility, we don't need to go see the physio, like there's so many things that if we become more self-reliant, we spend less on external things and we focus more on internal things. Mm-hmm. And then we're not motivated by external things. Now, this might go against the BJJ belt system, but it just means that you're calmer, and my whole goal, and Joe might laugh at this, but my goal is actually to be calmer, as much to stop Joe from wanting to punch my face in every single day. But it's because I find in myself, I feel, it's not anxious, but I feel urgent. There's an urgency in me and I don't know where it comes from. It's just this, it's not even insecurity. It's not even the caffeine. There's just something in me which is unnecessary. It doesn't actually help me that much. Even though it drives me, it doesn't help me because I'm always trying to move to the next thing. And the best thing is right now. So if we circle this back around to humans every day, we're taught to feel insufficient. We're taught, oh, you're not beautiful. Oh, you're ugly. Oh, you're too fat. Oh, you're too thin. You're too blah, 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 blah. Be different. Here's how you change yourself. Buy this product. In truth, you're good enough. Trust yourself. And then if you don't trust yourself, you learn this over time, make sure that you've got someone who can help you to give you proper feedback, which is not emotional, which isn't loaded with the angst, which isn't loaded with the anxiety. And you just got to be less self-critical. Like, this isn't about ego. This isn't about, oh, I'm the best. It's just, we all do it, right? When you've got like a scrunched up bit of wrapper or paper and you go to you're like, I'm Michael Jordan. And you go, I don't know if you do this. I do this. I'm like, I'm a basketball tragic from the 90s. I'm like, I'm going to nail this from all the way back here. And you miss. You're like, oh, that was shit. What made you think
I'm a fucking loser?
Oh, I suck. Yeah. Like, why did you do that? It's a game. It's meant to be fun. And then why are you beating down on yourself for that? We do this all the time. You're standing there.
JT is extremely hard on himself. I can speak to that. When we shoot some content, I'll give you guys a cool example here. We shoot some content, like JT, we're going to shoot some videos. Like, cool, let's go. And it's like, hey, here's what we need to talk about. And let's say we're shooting something for the program on our members area, or it's something for YouTube. And JT will be like, great, what are we doing? I'll be like, man, I want you to tell us about hip mobility. We're going to do 3 exercises. Give us an intro. And JT will go, yep, right. Okay, camera's rolling. And then we'll finish the first take of the intro. And JT will be like, how was that? And I'll be like, it was okay, but we could do better. And he'll be like, yeah, I know. And then we'll go, okay, we'll go again. And then I look at JT and he's like, fuck. I'm like, bro, relax. It's your first take. Like, go easy on yourself. And you're like, no, man, it's just, I could do better. I know. He gets all Nate Diaz. And you're like, bro, shit. Like, stop being down on yourself.
Look, I think the thing is this. I have been shooting health and fitness videos for 20 years. So it's like, I expect by now that I'm a bit of a one-take wonder. Like, if I know what I'm saying, I can nail it. But it is true. It is true. I do have an internal dialogue, which is hypercritical. But that's why I'm saying this. It's not even that I'm giving this advice from a place of, oh, I'm so calm and I don't criticize myself. I have the tiger mum in my head, which is, that's not good enough, do better. But then the flip side of that is I also have the very confident voices like, no, that was great, good on you. And it's hard to juggle that.
Yeah.
And so
got to be able to run with both.
When we come back to jiu-jitsu and we're like, okay, you've got a belt and you're feeling insecure and you feel like an imposter, like you're a blue belt and the white belts are kicking you. You got those 4-stripe white belts kicking your ass. Understand that they want to be you. It's a compliment. When someone rolls you hard, That's because they respect your jiu-jitsu. If someone's just kind of playing with you, that's not good jiu-jitsu. And I always say it to my students, like if I'm giving you a hard roll, it's because you're good enough. I'm not being a bully here. I'm rolling you harder because you have the skills to deal with it. And so I'm respecting you. And the respect goes up. Every time you get better, I dial the respect up. A little bit more, a little bit more.
Yeah.
And when it's black belts, it's full respect. Let's kill each other.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe that you can grow into your belt. I think once you've got it, there's no option. You either shrink or you swell. Like you either get better or you quit.
And you have to. I mean, if you look at that, it's like say you're crossing a threshold from blue belt to purple belt.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you've done all this time at blue belt. Yep, great. You got really good. You're that savage blue belt. And then you get graded to purple belt. There, of course, has to be a period where you suck as a purple belt.
You're not the best anymore.
Because you've just jumped over to that side. Like you should experience some self-doubt. The idea that you would come into that new belt and be like, I'm a fucking proficient purple belt. Like, no, you were just a blue belt yesterday.
Yeah.
So there has, like we're on these belts for years.
Sure.
So the idea that, I think when you look at it that way, it's like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to feel unprepared and whatever, like my confidence will be a bit shaken and all those things. Like that's part of you stepping into bigger boots. And then of course, starting that process of growing into the new belt.
Definitely. And there will be more expected of you, but that's what goes with the territory.
Yeah.
That's why higher belts do get more respect. You can't just act the same. You can't just be like, oh, I'll just do exactly what I did at blue belt. Nope, that's not going to cut it. Same thing. You go to brown belt. Oh, now we've got some leg locks in there. It's a different game. And then I guess, even though this may only be the smallest percentage of people out there, but if you get that black belt and then you meet other black belts and you've just got your black belt, you're in your first year, you meet someone who's been a black belt for 20 years. It's just so different.
Do not expect to be on a level playing field.
No, the context, the amount of jiu-jitsu they've seen, the people they've trained with, you're no one.
The amount of times they've addressed emotional discomfort like maybe you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Like they've been through that fire multiple times.
They're seasoned.
Yeah.
There was a movie many years ago called The Thin Red Line. It's a war movie. And there's a particular...
Shot in Australia, Queensland. Sean Penn.
Yeah, Joe was on that set.
Yeah. No, but a lot of my co-workers at the time did work on it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And there's this very grizzled admiral. And the private's always like, oh, hi, sir. Good day, sir. And he's like, is it? Like, he's the meanest, saltiest
He's
dog.
5-degree black belt.
Oh, he's the 5-degree black belt. And he goes into the final conflict when they push over the ridge. I believe there's a degree of historical truth to the thing that occurs. He's just got a pistol. He doesn't even have a rifle. And he's walking around just, like no armor, just walking. They're all like helmets and flak jacket. He's like, no, I'm walking into the fire. I know exactly what I'm getting into. And he's so resolute and he's so prepared to die. He actually stays alive way longer than everyone else. It's kind of frightening. And I'm not saying that you have to become the grizzled old general, but when you see so much and you do have that time of overcoming your own hurdles, seeing other people overcome theirs, and you realize it's going to be okay. You will be good enough in time, but you got to stay in the game. Just because you meet that first hurdle of serious self-doubt, that's not the time to quit. No one gets better doing that. And so really, once you accept that and you go, okay, I'm not as good as I thought I would be, that's when the improvement starts. And then that's where we're really, I think true benefit in jiu-jitsu is that humility and your ability to get better from there.
Yeah, that's where the growth happens.
Cool.
Can I shout out a couple of humans?
Please.
We've received a couple of really cool contacts from folks lately, and we get these all the time, but I thought I'd just share them on the show. Had a really cool Instagram message from a fella named Matty Whale. He said, hey guys, really enjoy the podcast as a newer listener. As a newer jiu-jitsu athlete. He's been training for less than 2 years. To have a relatable podcast that's all Aussie is cool. I'm going to sign up to your program at some stage and give it a crack. It's just a matter of when. 3 days a week of training jiu-jitsu and working full time plus I got 3 kids, is a real juggle.
Oh, yeah.
I feel your pain. Absolutely. So Matty, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Nice to hear from you. And then the other one was really cool. Fella named Daniel. Really enjoyed your podcast episode a couple of weeks ago about how focusing on top game is better than guard in terms of long-term impact and injuries.
Yes.
Great episode. If you haven't caught that one yet, it pulled on a heartstring for a lot of people. I will definitely take this into account and try to focus on top game / not spend too much time in flexion, getting cross-faced, etc. But he's got a question here. Just wondering if you have any more advice on becoming proficient on the bottom while also minimizing chances of injury. Which types of guard to steer clear of and which you reckon are the least risky? Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. Cheers from London, Daniel.
Oh, wow. Shout out. London town.
Yeah, I mean, just in short, I personally found that when I was coming back from knee surgery, a lot of the open guards that I like to play, so X guard, single leg X, and lasso, didn't feel safe at all for me. So I switched back to closed guard and to like half guard.
Yeah.
And they were really, and I could choose which, I could keep my affected leg on the bottom when I was playing half guard. So I could use my more capable leg as the knee shield.
Yeah.
And that really worked well for me.
Well, I was going to say the 2 guards that I would avoid. So it seems you've got to level this out so that you don't get physically smashed on the bottom. You need good guard retention. Generally, that's related to playing quite open guards. Lasso talks the hell out of your knee. Definitely avoid lasso. Also, spider guard, even though in the moment when you have both your feet in the biceps, you've got your grips, you're kind of good for a minute. As soon as people start leg dragging and kicking and moving, the chance of you having your foot twisted, almost like the effect of a heel hook, is actually quite high.
Yeah, it's wily.
It is. It's a little bit sketchy. What I was going to say is speaking to that half guard thing with you, Joe, collar sleeve is actually even though it's considered an open guard, you can organize your feet almost like a half or a closed guard and still have very good control over the upper body.
Right.
So if you've got a suspect leg, you can kind of let it hang out and you can play collar sleeve. So if you guys don't know what collar sleeve guard is, Homolo Bahal, Barral, famous from GB, multiple time world champion. He's awesome at it. Anyone else is putting good information out there. That is a variation on open guard that will keep your knees safe, and it's easy to keep your guard. So the other thing is this. There are many people doing inversions. That's cool, and that's really good for guard retention and taking the back. But there's all these other positions and a lot of other hard work that you have to do, which won't put you under so much flexion. So it's not to say never invert, but if you work on your guard and your positioning without inverting, that's going to save you hassles with your back and your neck.
Yeah, great point. Great advice there. Guys, thanks for listening. If you want some help with your training, and we're talking building strength and flexibility specifically for BJJ in the most efficient amount of time possible, we have a program. We got hundreds of people just like you that are in there getting strong and flexible as we speak. As a listener of the podcast, you get 20% off if you use the code BJJ Podcast. So to claim that, all you got to do is go to bulletproofforbjj.com, sign up for a free trial, chuck in the code BJJ Podcast, you get the discount. And you can connect with JT and I on our private Facebook group. And we're talking in there every week with the people on our program, providing solutions and just generally making sure everyone's getting the most from their training. We are also on Patreon. So if you don't need the program, but you do want to support us some other way, you can go to Patreon. We've got different options there. You can buy us a coffee. You can buy us a bowl of acai, whatever you choose. We thank you for listening. We'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, guys. Cheers, Joe.